Welcome in to another episode of Building the Pride. I am your host, Drew, and I'm joined as always by my co-host, Mike. Mike, how are you?
Just as handsome as ever, Drew. How about yourself?
I'm doing great, man. I'm think you know, we're about to head into summer. Spring was good.
Right on. Did you have a good Memorial Day weekend?
I did. We did a cookout with brat. It rained a little bit, but we did a cookout with brats and potato salad and
Right on.
baked beans and the like, and it was just good kind of 4th of July type food, and we're heading into that season, and I like a good bratwurst. So how about you? What'd you guys do?
Excellent. Sunday, I drove my boys down to Chicago so they could fly over to Europe because they got a 3-week head start on us. So,
Yeah.
but the entirety of my birthday was driving to Chicago and then back, shipping the kids off. So
where does everyone's summer?
It was exactly. So the next day we got a call from the boys. They were at Max's house and having schnitzel and hanging out with his family. So everything went well.
Every time I hear the word schnitzel, I think of, and I think this is correct, I think of that movie Inglourious Bastards.
I've never seen it. I know of it, but
oh my god, dude, you should watch it. So I cannot remember his name. Frederick Waltz.
Say it with conviction, and I'll believe you.
I know, but I'm not sure. I'll look him up while you're talking at some point. But he plays the chief evil Nazi in that film, and
the Nazi film.
Yeah, it's set during World War II.
Everybody likes a good World War II Nazi film.
That's right.
Hopefully, the Nazis are the bad guys, and they lose.
They are. They're always the bad guys. There's this kind of famous scene where someone that he had wronged earlier in the film, but a bunch of time had passed, ended up, hey, what's up, Donkey Kong? They ended up randomly at a cafe having tea and stuff together. Yeah. And she doesn't want to be there, obviously, but he orders schnitzel for her. But he plays a character named Franz Landa, who it's just an absolutely fascinating character. But
check it out.
He's it's a super well acted film. It's a Tarantino movie.
All right. Is it weird movie, like his Tarantino?
It's a little weird, but not Kill Bill weird. Kill Bill was
I wasn't a fan.
That doesn't really make sense. How she could kill 99 bad guys with swords, right? But she did, But this isn't like that. This is more Tarantino style in a real world setting.
Yeah,
it's a really good movie. I think
I'll give it a try.
Yeah,
I've not liked most Tarantino movies that I've seen, so I see what I'm like. I don't know. I'll give it a go. It sounds interesting.
He has his own style. I find that he's kind of like M. Night Shyamalan for me, where it's you either like his films or you don't, but there's no I could take it or leave it. That doesn't seem like it exists with Tarantino movies. So
I think what's up, Pat? Welcome. Hey, Donkey Kong. I think the thing that really turned me off was, and I know this is not a popular opinion.
Oh,
I hated Pulp Fiction. It was one of the worst movies I've ever seen. Yeah. Did not like it, but I know everybody's like, "Oh my gosh, it's one of the greatest." I'm like, I was not a big fan, so that kind of turned me off to a lot of his stuff. But I'll give this one a go. It sounds interesting.
Yeah, if you get a chance. I never saw Pulp Fiction.
Oh, in my humble opinion, you didn't miss anything.
Sure, I get it.
I did watch Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Mm-hmm. A little bit weird, but I thought that was pretty solid. So it's probably time to give him a chance, and I'll go with Inglourious Bastards and give that a shot.
He said he's only making 1 or 2 more movies, and he's all done.
Oh, really? Interesting.
It was his goal in life to make 15 films, and he's real close to 15.
Interesting.
So, well,
what are we talking about today? Yeah.
Well, Pat, we are going to talk about the depth chart and what we think who's going to be on the 53-man roster, and where we think who they're going to keep, and where what the depth is going to look like, who's going to be playing behind whom. so to speak. So if that's not your cup of tea, duck out now, because it's going to be about the next 55 minutes of that at least. So
yeah, OTAs maybe a little bit as well. I'm kind of curious if anybody in the chat has been kind of keeping up on the OTAs, because I just haven't. I haven't had a chance between work and home stuff with getting the boys off to Europe. So I know first world problems, but it haven't had a chance to dig into that. But where do you want to start?
Well, so here's the only thing I'll say about like OTAs is that like Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell both were interviewed or did press conferences recently, and apparently the word out of camp is that Jack Campbell looks fucking ready. Like,
awesome.
Transformed his body. He's like first guy in, last guy out. Sounds like it clicked for him this season. Like now, I mean, like, I think the NFL is a lot about like, if you have a person, any player at any position where it clicks and they contribute in year one, that's wonderful. But like almost every rookie should be given the opportunity to be like, okay, that was an eye-opening experience. And then what do you look like when you head into your second season?
Yeah.
Because, you know, and this is going back to like their intangibles and like their mindset and their philosophy is that like these guys didn't take much time off. It doesn't sound like. It sounds like they were in the gym, ready to go. Yeah. Roderick Martin, like I was listening to Aaron Glenn's interview.
Like put on like 20 pounds of muscle or something like that.
It's the way that Aaron Glenn said is that he transformed his body, and like transforming your body when you're that big is a Herculean effort. I mean, like, it's not easy to do.
Did he put on that weight, or did he take it off and turn? I don't remember. Something about 20 pounds, but I thought he put on 20 pounds. And he was already a big dude, so maybe he slimmed.
When I hear the term put on 20 pounds of muscle, what I hear is you weighed X, and now you weighed X plus whatever they say.
Yeah.
And so, but when I think about that, like because when I was, I don't now clearly, but like when I was in high school and college, I lifted weights pretty regularly. And like your body goes through a process where it breaks down and you start to lose weight because you're burning calories. And then like that energy is going into like repairing your muscles. And like you don't necessarily like lose weight. Like I stepped on a scale and lost 20 pounds, but like you convert that in from one thing into another, right? Yeah. So, but that is a process, and it's not necessarily a process. It's just like I start lifting weights now. It's 20 pounds of muscle, you know, like it's a process. So, like
if that was the thing that we would do that, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Like so, I got 20 minutes. Let's come back jacked, boys.
Yeah, 100%. So, like when I hear like Broderick Martin, Jack Campbell, like basically like the young guys heading into their second, maybe third years, when they come in and say like when their coaches and trainers are like, this guy was in the gym the whole time, he looks fantastic, like he's writing stuff down on the board, like it's clear that like he's ready to play at this level, like that gives me a lot of hope. But someone like Broderick Martin, like what can we really expect from Broderick Martin this year? Well, we're going to talk about that tonight. So what is there a position group? I think we should stick all offense or all defense and then switch to the other one instead of just jumping around by position. But where would you like to start, Mike?
Let's start on the defense, because that is where we needed the most help, and that's where we spent the most assets in the offseason.
So I got my piece of paper with all my stuff written down.
All right. Do you want me to share what ESPN has as our depth chart right now?
Let's see what their guess is. Sure.
All right.
I respect ESPN, not at all. So, but they know the players on the team.
Yeah. So they're looking at, zoom in here. I don't know how, I'm kind of curious how this matches up with what you've got. So they've got Hutch on the left side, Marcus Davenport starting on the right side, and maybe they flip flat. I don't know. My guess is not, though, because that puts Hutchinson going over the right tackle instead of the left tackle. But McNeil and Reeder as the DTs on the inside. We've got Jack Campbell, Anzalone are the two linebackers they've got. Derek Barnes as the slot linebacker,
strong side linebacker,
strong side. Yeah.
So this posits that. So you see it up at the top, like that they're in a 4-3, and I don't really know that anything really like that exists anymore. It's more like like the Lions' base defense is nickel 4-2-5. So ESPN here, as far as I am concerned, is kind of like putting people into spots where they probably aren't actually going to look like they're going to actually look like what they're going to look like when they line up on the field. So like the way that I completely agree with the defensive line starters. I don't care about right or left because they're going to be all over the place. But
I agree.
The problem is, and I'm wondering what we'll see this year if we talk about linebackers, Anzalone is really a will linebacker, in my opinion. And Jack Campbell is really a Mike linebacker. But they're switched because Anzalone knows what the fuck is going on. So until Jack Campbell knows what's going on and can get everybody lined up, then Anzalone is going to occupy that role and needs to be at the mic. Aaron Glenn did refer to Jack Campbell in his press conference last week as a green dot guy. So to me, that says you're in line to get the dot at some point.
Yep.
And we'll see how early it is. But I think
part of Anzalone's job is to mentor him and turn him into that. I think it's clear that this is Anzalone's last contract with us, at least, and his job is to mentor Campbell to take over.
Yes. So I have Anzalone and Rodriguez as that is the appropriate starter and backup, but they're both will linebackers. Yeah. And then my depth chart is Jack Campbell and then Derek Barnes backing him up. And then like you can call James Houston a Sam linebacker and they will line him up at that spot every once in a while, but he's an edge.
Yeah.
But like he's an edge that they're going to call a Sam linebacker. And this is my problem with like the who should you draft, who works out in the draft, that kind of lists. Hey, what's up, Hatters? Is that like Houston, if you call him a Sam linebacker, is going to be considered a linebacker when he's an edge rusher, right? Like no one is watching James Houston like cover tight ends off the line of scrimmage, right? Like he is putting his head down and going. So okay, so like until
I got him probably. Man, I'm just struggling with the mouse today. I've got him kind of backing up Aiden Hutchinson.
Yeah, so my edge rusher depth chart looks like Hutchinson and Davenport as the starters, Houston and Pascal as the primary role players on the edge, and then Betts and question mark after that.
Kaminsky, right? We re-signed Kaminsky for a year, right? A 1-year deal.
Kaminsky is back, and like I do think this will be his last year on the team, but which is a bummer because he's been everything that this organization wanted to do, but there's only so many spots and they keep drafting guys. So, but like Kaminsky and Pascal to me occupy very similar roles. Like to me, they're just big edge rushers. I like Betts too. I like Betts too. But like, they're just big edge rushers, but they like to put them on the interior in certain formations. So their snap counts inside are quite a bit higher than you might expect to see in a quote unquote more traditional look. So to me, they're just tweeners. This is the argument against drafting Darius Robinson out of Missouri during the draft that I didn't like, is that he's just another version of Kaminsky and Pascal. He might just weigh 15 pounds more. So I just didn't want another one of those guys because we already had a couple of them on the roster. So, but like they've invested in the interior defensive line. They signed DJ Reader, Broderick Martin, thanks to Pat, we know has remade his body and probably in line for actual playing time this year. So like they drafted Mekhi Wingo, they signed Kyle Pecco. Like I think that those guys make the roster. So like I think that forces Kaminsky and Pascal out to the edges in more sets this year. The line is going to be enormous. So
I think that's something that we need. We need some depth there, because if if Hutch goes down, we need somebody that can come in. If Davenport goes down, we need someone that can come in and spell these guys. They don't need to be on the field for,
there's
4
no
downs
force
in a row. And
there's no force on earth that's going to get Aiden Hutchinson off that field. He's going to play 1,000 snaps.
that's true.
So
That's true. He's got a motor like I've never seen on a guy like that. So we just need to make sure that they're still effective later in the game and that kind of stuff. So you got to spell some of those guys occasionally. Maybe he'll take off the downs where they're punting.
Right. Exactly. Half the time, right? Faking the other half. So to me, I think the more interesting question on the defensive side, Mike, is most of the time there's only going to be 2 linebackers on the field, which means there's another defensive back. So I think the corner or the nickel corner position is more important to this defense than the Sam linebacker position. So my starting defensive backfield are these 4 guys, but I had Branch at nickel, and then I had Melifonwu at strong safety. But I'm wondering if the better alignment is Branch at strong safety, Rakestraw at the nickel, and then you can put Rakestraw and Branch basically really close to the line in almost like a cover 1 look. And it's basically like everybody but Kirby Joseph's going to be 7 yards from the line of scrimmage.
Right.
Like
you're not going to know if they're coming at you or if they're going to drop into coverage.
100%.
Because they can do both really well.
I think that's what Aaron Glenn wants to run.
Yeah, I can see that.
And I think that the defense on the Lions this year is going to be very, very aggressive. So
what do you think about Emmanuel Mosley? Do you put him as a third string? Like I assume that he was going to be a second stringer.
I think that is appropriate for him, a good spot, because right now you don't know.
Yeah.
You just don't know. And so, like, if I look at the defensive backs, CJ Moore is there to play special teams. He's a special team. I'm actually surprised they signed him back. But, like, he is
cheap. And you need a guy on special teams, right?
Well, sure. But, like, the gambling thing that he was suspended for a year for, and they signed him right back almost immediately. So, like,
yeah,
thought that was interesting. But like
he's off gambling for good, he said. He's like, I'm not doing it at all. Like he said, I did not bet on the Lions. I am done gambling at all during my career. It's not worth the potential, downfall.
So like
batters use a type of defense you use on Madden. Everybody close to the line, and you don't know if I'm coming or dropping back.
Yeah. And I think that's he's running the Aaron Glenn defense, Hatter's like a staunch Glenn supporter, Sorry if I put words in your mouth there, Hatters. But like you signed Amik Robertson. Melifonwu had a lot of snaps last year, especially in like over the last 9 games. CJ Moore is there for special teams, and Rakestraw is going to get snaps. So like if Emmanuel Mosley, CJ Mosley is did it again. If he's healthy, I do think he'll be closer to like a primary backup role, but that's only because I think that they'll be in a 4-2-5. CJ Moore comes out and is basically a special teamer, and one of Rakestraw or Melifonwu was actually on the field.
Yeah.
And then that opens up multiple spots for someone like Mosley to play on the defense, and so like the nice thing about this is you've got 4 or 5 guys ahead of them that they're holding down the fort, or whatever. So
November. Yeah, that's probably true, Donkey Kong. Right. Hatter says, I support Glenn, but no excuses this year.
I mean, there's no excuses for anybody. I mean, like, I don't think that if like the Lions make the playoffs and like lose in the second round or something like that they're going to fire Aaron Glenn. But like everything that I've heard from Brad and Dan You know, like Dan Campbell was asked, like, is it Super Bowl or bust?
I don't see a bust. I only see the Super Bowl.
Well, I mean, it's like he's like, I don't know what bust means, and I was like, I know what it means, Dan. I know. It means you didn't do it.
Yeah. Like, that means you didn't win the Super Bowl. Those are your options. You either won the Super Bowl or you didn't,
it's
which
real.
is
It's a real easy deduction, you know. Yeah. So like,
when you're a half of a game away from making the Super Bowl, not doing the same thing or better is the disappointment, right? Like, because we should be better this year than last year. Our rookies, our young guys got, an additional season in. We got, what's up, Joey? We got some additional skill building. We've got some of that adjustment period for some of these young kids. We should just be better next year. And all of our key guys, we re-signed, right? We brought back Goff, and we bought St. Brown and Sewell. Like, we didn't lose anybody that was critical.
No.
Therefore, we should be better next year. And if we were essentially a helmet doink fluke away from the Super Bowl, anything less than the Super Bowl is going to be a disappointment. And as far as I'm concerned, like, maybe not Super Bowl win, but like, if we don't at least get there, I think it's going to be a disappointing season. So if we get there and lose, it'll also be a big disappointment, but for different reasons.
So I guess my expectations aren't quite as high, just because, like, this would be the first time that the team, quote unquote, gets there, right? Like this group, like this year they got to the NFC title game, right? So great. You have that experience. You know what that's like. Everybody on the roster almost. So, okay. So like, but, you have to, there were things about last season that went in the Lions' favor. They didn't travel much. They won an inordinate amount of coin flips to start the game, which allowed them to dictate how they wanted the game to go. Like, I don't think they're going to win 13 coin flips again this year. Like, that's just luck. It has nothing to do with anything.
We're winning 17 this time, Drew.
That would be great.
17.
I would love to win 17 coin flips. I'm never gonna, but like, that would be great. And you're right. But like, the stuff that they can control, they did get better at. Like, you locked up players. Your team's gaining experience. Your rookies are becoming NFL, more like NFL players as opposed to college players, that type of thing. Yep. And all of that should equal out to being a better team. But like, this team, won 12 games. It's hard to win more than 12 games in the NFL. So like, here's what I want. Here's my expectation. My expectation is this team wins the division. Here's the thing I think that they can do. I think they can get the number 1 seed in the NFC. And I am not going to bet on them to get to the Super Bowl until they secure the 1 seed. Because this team playing at home with this crowd, even if the crowd travels well, is, I think, more important than almost any other franchise in the NFL. So, I mean, like, it's a very real thing that if you go to, Lions Stadium, Ford Field, and you're the opposing team and you come out for that first drive, the crowd just might be so loud that you have to burn a timeout because you can't communicate the play call. Like, that's like a very
LA
real
did.
Thing,
LA did that in the first round last year. We were so loud they ended up having to waste a timeout, and boy, did that bite them in the ass at the end.
Yes. So like, Pat, Mike and I both have the Lions winning 13 games next season. We each have them losing to different teams. Is the only distinction. Yeah. So
we had a couple that we were commenting on, but we had a couple that we also like, no, you've got to win and I got a loss, and vice versa.
Right.
I do think that, and I think you agree with this, maybe not. I do think that 11 outside of injuries, because if Goff goes down or St. Brown, like one of our big guys goes down, that's going to be a big impact. But assuming relative health, I think our floor is 11 wins. I don't see us losing or winning less than 11 with a healthy roster. I think our ceiling is about 14, 15 wins. I don't think we're going 17-0. Sorry, Donkey Kong. I just don't think it's going to happen. But I think we have the ability to get to probably a good 15 wins. And I think we'll kind of split the middle down too. Donkey Kong is pretty adamant about 17-0, but I think we'll split the middle into like the floor and the ceiling right into that 13 win area.
He has been adamant about 17-0 the entire time that I've known him. So
I love the optimism.
Yeah, don't stop now, like but 12
wins. Yeah. Pat, we missed you last week. That was when we were going through all of that. So if you're bored, check out last week's episode. We went game by game, and you can see where Drew is going to be wrong and I'm going to be right on some of those that we disagreed on.
I guess I'm going to take a slightly less lofty view of expectations for this team, because what I am telling myself is that I believe that Brad Holmes is setting this team up to compete for the NFC Championship game, going to the Super Bowl year in, year out. Oh, thank you, Donkey Kong. I appreciate it.
Donkey Kong.
And because of that, like, I don't feel that we're all in on whatever is something that they are going to have, that they're going to act upon either during the season or in an off season. Like, there is a process. The process is the process. The process will eventually get us there. But like, from where they started, it's a pretty lofty climb, right? And they have climbed quickly, but like, 3 to 9, 9 to 12. I mean, like, they're not, I don't think that they're going to go from 12 to 15 or 16, like,
yeah, I don't think so. I think if we get the breaks, right, if we win a couple of those coin flips, if the opposition, the Chiefs game last year, right, game 1, we lose that game, except Kadarius Toney helped us out by, bouncing the ball off of his hands right to Brian Branch, pick 6. That's the difference in the game. Yeah, so like, that's a welcome to the NFL moment for Branch. That was great. But that was the difference in the game, right? So I think if we have some of those, if we get the good luck side of those kind of things, I think we can get up to 15 wins. We got a tough schedule. We've got some haymakers out there. We've got the Niners, and we got the Bills, we got Houston, who just had the first number 1, the number 1 overall pick, and they're already like, they won their division last year and they made the playoffs, and you're just like, holy crap, this team got good quick. So we've got some tough games. We're going to go against Green Bay twice. They got better this offseason. We're going to go up against Chicago twice. They got better this offseason. We're going to go up against Minnesota twice. So there's 2 wins. So I do not think they necessarily got better this offseason, but somebody's got to be in the cellar. So
they prepared themselves to get better. I think they did what they needed to take a leap like Detroit did from 3 to 9. I think that I don't think they're going to win 3 games.
Yeah.
But like, I think that they're prepared to, like, 2025, you got to watch out for the Vikings, because now they're ready to go.
Yeah. They're going to go from that 4 or 5 up to 8 or 9. Right.
Well, I'm more concerned that they're going to go from like 7 and 8 to like 10 or 11. So
I don't think they're going to win 7 or 8 this year. I've got them at like 5 wins.
Yeah, maybe if that's the case, then they're going to get like the 5th or 6th pick in the draft.
Yep.
And like, it does look like the draft this upcoming season is going to be a lot of really good non-quarterbacks,
which is great. They already got their quarterback in the future.
Right. So like, if you have your quarterback and are still bad, next year's draft should be wonderful for you.
Yeah.
So, but back to the depth chart here. Like,
actually, I'm going to pause real quick on that. Since we're talking about rookie quarterbacks of the future,
yeah,
Caleb Williams, I understand, threw like 7 straight interceptions and essentially got benched during OTAs, and they told him to like stop scrambling, throw the fucking ball. Like, we don't want you to be what our last quarterback was. Be you. I'm like, ooh, interesting. I'll be curious to see how he goes from there.
Yeah, okay. So I mean, like the worry about Caleb for me coming into this season, like the only thing that I want to see from Caleb Williams is don't play hero ball. And I mean, based on what you just said, it sounds like they were like, go play hero ball, or whatever. But like
I think they don't want him to play hero ball.
Well, then
it sounds like he was like running out of the structure when he didn't need to, and like doing that kind of stuff instead of just like chuck it to your hot spot. Hand it, dump it off, and he wasn't doing that. He was zigzag running around, wait until make a longer one. So at least that's what it sounded like to me. But and that's what he had to do his last year in USC, was just fucking run around until you could find somebody open.
Yeah, exactly.
And they're basically like, don't do that.
Yeah, this is the problem, is that like that's a bad habit.
Yeah.
And so like how quickly can they break him of the bad habit, right? If it's quickly, for everyone who's not a Bears fan.
Yeah.
And if it's like, this is going to take some time, he's really going to have to, quote unquote, unlearn some things, then how quickly do you unlearn and relearn good habits? But like, that's what you signed up for. They obviously knew that when they took him. It's, and it's not a bad problem to have, so to speak. But like, there is a trend amongst this, I like the new generation of quarterbacks, mobile quarterbacks, that it's like, we like the fact that you can get away from pressure, but you got to get rid of the ball. You can't hold on to the ball. There's no team in the NFL that can buy their quarterback 6 seconds
consistently.
So, yeah, you have to like elude and get rid of it. And like, I will say
trust
this
your
about,
guys.
Yeah, I will say this about Lamar Jackson. Like, that is one thing that he excels at, is that it's like he will elude pressure and he will either take off and run with it, or he will throw the ball. But he is not going to dance around for 6 seconds. He's going to dance around and get to 4 and get the ball out of there. So like, if Caleb Williams can learn to do that, and like, to be honest, like, I hope the kid does, because I don't want him to be bad, to be honest. I mean, like,
I don't want them to win against us, but I want to see like amazing football, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
So like, have the rest of the team be awful, but like, you can be good.
Exactly.
Like how Matthew Stafford had it for like his entire.
I was just gonna say that. I'm like, I feel like I've seen that script before.
It's a tradition in the NFC North. Like, here you go. So like, but it sounds like he's a rookie right now, so that makes a lot of sense. So
as it turns out, he is a rookie. So
yeah.
All right, now we can unpause and go back to the depth chart there. I found that super interesting with the like 7 picks and sitting them down and telling them to like unlearn your shit. And I thought that was something worth at least chit chatting about for a minute or two.
Yeah, about the only people on the defense here that I have not heard their names are Nate Lynn, Duron Gilbert, Lauren Strickland, and Chellen Garnes. In fact, I think Garnes might be a UDFA. And I know that like Steel Chambers is.
Yeah, Wake Forest rookie.
Okay.
He was not on the list of draft picks that I remember seeing, so I'm assuming he's a UDFA. And I'm assuming they would have listed his draft position.
Oh, have you heard the Marvin Harrison nonsense?
I've heard a few different. What's the latest? I've heard a few different things about.
So now, so his whole thing with the not signing the NIL deal at the Win. Who's Win?
I think Lynn.
He's got it. Well, my guess would be that he's a UDFA. Yeah, rookie.
He's a rookie.
6'3", 256, huh? But like, his whole deal at the draft was he had to hold up that weird sweater with no sleeves on it. But like, his name right now can't be on NFL merchandise because he hasn't signed the NFL's standard like name, image, likeness deal that basically says we can put your name on jerseys and in video games and merchandise.
Right.
And the reason that he's doing that, apparently, is that he is keeping that leverage to force Fanatics, which is a sports memorabilia or sports merchandise or memorabilia company. Hey, what's up, Rumble?
Yeah, buddy. Super Bowl, no bust.
By the way, guys, Rumble has his own podcast now. Rumble, you're going to have to tell me what it's called. I can't remember off the top of my head, but you guys should definitely check it out. He does a really great job. He is using the fact that he hasn't signed the NFL's name, image, likeness contract to leverage his deal with Fanatics, which I don't understand at all. Because from what it sounds like is that the deal is going to be like $1 million. And this doesn't seem like something worth quibbling over $1 million for. So, like,
yeah, I mean,
because
he's going to get something out of the original. Yeah, exactly.
Right. I mean, he's going to get stuff. He's going to get stuff on his rookie deal, like commercial opportunities, like merchandise that, chances, stuff like that. Like, and like making your Fanatics deal worth $500,000 more or whatever the number is, doesn't seem like it. Now, if it turns out it's like, oh, it's 10 million, like, okay, now I can get it.
Yeah.
But like, from what it sounds like is that it's only like $1 million or $2 million. Now, I don't have $1 million. So,
so that's a game changer for you, right?
Right. I would just be like, where do I sign the money account? I sign this and you give me money. Okay, neat. Yeah. But like,
so you just have to take this ugly mug and put it on things and just my name,
not even my face, just put my name on the back of something,
yeah.
But like, he's holding out and now I've heard that Fanatics has actually filed suit against him for something. Like they have fired another shot across the bow. So like this has
a shit show.
This has no end in sight from what I've heard. And I haven't checked on it in about a week, but like I read an article on The Athletic that's basically like, this is what happens when you get paid a lot.
Sounds like you're a great locker room guy too. Real team player.
I mean, didn't work out at the combine. Didn't do anything at his pro day. Like basically was like, here I am.
Yeah,
and
you've
like,
seen the tape.
Didn't play in the bowl game. I kind of get it. Like if you're going to be a top 5 pick, like I get it. Right. Don't like it. Totally get it. But then you're the only player in history I've ever heard not sign this particular agreement when it was put in front of you. Like there's nothing you can negotiate really with your rookie contract anymore over just some like when the money shows up kind of language, but You're going to get the same amount. It's just when you get it. So, I mean, like there's no one's going to hold out anymore. Like this is the only thing that I just checked over the cap. He signed his rookie contract. So like, I don't know how you can sign your rookie contract
crazy
and not this agreement that says you can put my name on your jersey and sell my jersey in the store on NFL.com. Like,
so I can also get a piece of that profit.
Right. Like he
didn't even go to Notre Dame.
No, he didn't.
It feels like a Notre Dame thing, right? Like I'm not going to join your conference because I want to do my own thing and get my own TV deal. But
I mean, Ohio State's not that far away from Notre Dame. I mean,
that's true. But that's interesting.
So, anyways,
yeah. So on our defense, how many corners, safeties do you think we're going to carry to start to see on our 53?
So these are the guys I think will carry: Carlton Davis, Terrion Arnold, Brian Branch, who I'm considering a corner for the purposes of my depth chart, Mosley, Robertson, and then I have them keeping Vilder.
And Rakestraw.
And Rakestraw.
Right.
Rakestraw obviously is there.
So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 corners.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of corners.
It is.
But I think Branch is going to be one of those like hybrid safety corner type of things, right? And so he only counts as half a corner, so we really have 6.5 corners.
Right. So then for safeties, I have Melifonwu, Kirby Joseph, CJ Moore.
So we got 3.5 safeties, 6.5 corners.
Basically. And then that group gets mixed up however it needs to be mixed up.
Yeah. So 10 in the backfield, or in the yeah, backfield. I think running back, but
back 7. Yep.
Yeah. Linebackers: Campbell, Anzalone, Barnes,
Rodriguez, and Jalen Reeves-Maben are for sure. Anthony Pittman, I believe, signed with the Steelers in the offseason. So he's not an option. He was a core special teamer, which is why I think they brought back a guy like CJ Moore and drafted a guy like Vaki.
Yeah.
They're trying to shore up the difference there. But so I have them keeping 5 dedicated, what I call off the ball linebackers.
Yeah. Pat looks like he's on board with that. He's got 6 cornerback, 4 safety. But Pat, are you counting Branch as a safety, or are you counting him in your cornerback slots? I'm guessing it's safety. I'm guessing you've got Branch, Joseph, Melifonwu, and Moore as the 4 safeties. And then probably the same 6, Davis, Arnold, Robertson, Rakestraw, Mosley, and Vildor for the corners. So I'm kind of curious if you want to toss that in chat. And then James Houston, we've already talked about, is not a linebacker.
Yes. Well, not to me. Stupid ESPN is a linebacker.
Yeah.
So our defensive line I have as Hutch, McNeil, Reeder, Davenport. Then I've got Houston, Kaminsky, Martin, Pascal. And then I have Pecco, Betts, and Wingo.
So do you think Onwuzurike is going to be a casualty?
Yeah, I do think so.
Unfortunately. What about Agude?
I don't know who that is.
I don't either. Oh, he's from the U.
Well, there you go. Can't get rid of him now.
First season.
25, and it's his first season. Okay. I'll bet. Well, so I would have guessed mission trip, but now I don't know. Like, did you just play 6 years in college?
Yeah, I don't know. And I'm assuming Miami is the. Oh yeah, I see it down at the bottom. Miami Hurricanes. I wasn't sure. Maybe it was Miami, Ohio, as opposed to the University of Miami, but he's a Hurricane. So I don't know much about him. So you've got the same 4 up here, and you've got essentially Wingo.
Yep.
And Betts replacing Agude and Onwuzurike and keeping Martin, Kaminsky.
Yes.
So eight guys on the line?
Well, and then Pecco.
Oh, and Pecco. Okay.
Yeah. So
basically all 3 of these guys.
Yeah.
Pascal
that's too, right? So 4, that's why I've got 11 D linemen.
9, 10, 11 D linemen. So you got these 4, those 4. That's 8.
Yep.
Martin, Kaminsky. Who's your other guy? Oh yeah, Houston.
Right.
Who they did not have up there because they're weird.
Right. He's an edge, right? So.
Yeah. I think that seems pretty reasonable. I'll be curious to see how they do all that, and how many slots we have open for the defense once they keep all the offense. Do you want to switch over to the offense?
Yes.
Because there's not a ton to talk about down here. Badgley right now seems to be our place kicker. Fox is our punter.
Definitely.
And then I think Raymond will probably still be our returner.
I wouldn't be surprised if Vaki got punt or kick return duties.
I could see that. I could see that.
Yeah, Kaminsky's in there, Pat. Or at least we think he'll be on the team. So, but yeah, let's So shockingly, I have Goff and Hooker.
Wait, in which order?
That order. First,
okay, all right. I just want to make sure.
Hooker, yeah.
Me too. I mean, you don't throw $53 million at a guy to play him as a backup, right? So
correct. So running backs, I think the first 2 are just easy.
Yeah.
Which
one do you think is going to be our RB1?
I would have it be Montgomery. I like how David Montgomery runs the ball in a way that I really like. Not that I don't like Gibbs, but like David, I just love the way that David Montgomery runs.
Yeah.
So but I think that they are going to get almost 1-to-1 carries. And at the end of the season, Gibbs will probably have more touches because he'll be throwing the ball more. But I think that Montgomery will have more carries, is my guess.
Yeah.
Unless there's
similar total yards from scrimmage.
I think that Gibbs will have greater yards from scrimmage because of the catching, the receiving. But I think that Montgomery will finish with more rushing yards.
Yeah. Do you have all four of these guys sticking around?
So depending on the only reason I think that Craig Reynolds may not be on the team is if depending on how many wide receivers they want to keep, or if they want to go an extra offensive lineman that they don't relegate to the practice squad, because they said they see Vaki as a running back.
Yeah.
Both Reynolds and Vaki have special teams contributions. So, like, I think they see Vaki as more of a, you're the guy that tackles the return man, and, like, maybe he does a little bit of returning. We know that Reynolds has, like, returned kicks, before. And so they're not just running backs, but, like, I am curious who really is RB3. And it's really nice to be talking about, I don't know who the third running back is on this roster, as opposed to we have no left tackle, or something like that.
Yeah.
It's just really nice and shows you how well this roster has been built over the last 3-4 years. But, like, if Vaki ends up taking if he gets like 150 carries this season for whatever reason, like, I think that Craig Reynolds may not be on the team as, like, the 53rd guy, but, like, or the 54th guy, to be honest. But, like, I wouldn't be surprised if they went into the season with all four of them. But, like, this is my kind of, if Reynolds beats out Vaki, which is entirely possible, they probably have 4 running backs all season. But if Vaki beats out Reynolds, I think that that's a swing spot. So,
and I think both Montgomery and Gibbs at times were a little beat up this past season, and running backs just due to the nature of due to the fact that they're running the other direction, and the other guys are running at them, they're going to get hit a lot. So that's why they kind of get chewed up and spit out as a position group. So I'd be a little surprised if we didn't keep 4 because of that, just having that depth there.
Rumble is telling me that the name of his show is Nothing But the Smoke, and it's Tuesdays at 8:00, which is probably why he's not in chat anymore. Is that he's probably prepping for the start of his show with a guy named B. Strilla, who I am unaware. I've watched his show once. I thought it was quite good.
Nice.
So, okay, wide receivers.
Pat's thinking 6.
That's generous. They kept 6 last year.
St. Brown, Williams.
Yep, that's the core.
Raymond.
Yep, they gave him an extension.
DPJ.
Yeah. Now I don't know.
Kennedy, is this the time that he finally makes a squad?
No,
Green,
I don't think so.
We drafted last year.
So I don't.
I'd like to see Kennedy because he's a sure hands guy, right?
Yeah, but he's a slot only.
Right. He's the guy that is going to end up on the practice squad. But if St. Brown goes down, they bring him in.
Well, I think if you. I think that Raymond is more of an outside. I think that Raymond is really supposed to be Jameson Williams' backup. I think they do a lot of the same stuff, just that JMO is taller, faster, younger, kind of a scenario. But, like, the question for me is the X receiver spot. So, like, they brought back DPJ on a 1-year deal, and then, like, Antoine Green, who Donkey Kong is plugging for here in the chat. He was a 7th round pick, I believe, a year ago.
Yep.
So
6 or 7. I think it's 7.
So what does he look like next year? Like, he has an opportunity right now to be quote unquote in the rotation.
6'2", 200.
So that's the size. Like, and like right now, he has a chance, I think, to push Donovan Peoples-Jones for the fourth wide receiver, third wide receiver spot. Like, I'd be interested to see what his preseason looks like, basically, because even though like I don't think it's likely to happen, and that's the reason why they brought back Donovan Peoples-Jones. Like, if he can't push DPJ right now, he'll never. I don't think he'll ever do it.
Yeah,
because this is as I would not be surprised if like the Lions took a wide receiver like round 1 or round 2. I really like a kid. I already have a 2025 prospect crush. And it's this wide receiver from Colorado State. I think his name's Torrey Horton. I just love the way that guy plays. And I know it's the Mountain West, but Jesus Christ. Like, if you put him where Donovan Peoples-Jones is, like this season, I would be Twitter pated as fuck. I would be so excited. So like, yeah,
I think we've got the worst wide receiver room in our division.
Well, I mean, so if we go through it really quickly, like I think Justin Jefferson's the best wide receiver in the NFL. So we're not topping that.
And they've got Addison, right?
Yeah, he's not chopped liver for sure.
Yeah, you got the best one, and then Addison would be. I mean, to be honest, Addison would be our number 2,
probably
by an easy amount.
Dan Campbell is saying that JMO looks like he went from being a kid to an adult. Was kind of how I read it.
Yeah.
This offseason. So okay, yeah, his first real offseason where he didn't fuck up or get hurt, right? So like,
yeah,
good. Glad to hear it. Like I hope that they throw him the ball this year. And then of course in Chicago you've got
a top
DJ
2, top
Moore,
3,
Keenan
right?
Allen, Roma Dunze. That's a great roster.
Yeah.
And then who are we talking about? Whoever the Packers, I can't name any. Well, I can name them: Reed, Wicks, Watson. And there's at least one more guy. Yeah. But like, and that is they're just dudes.
They're good dudes. None of them are like elite Amon-Ra, St. Brown, Justin Jefferson, quality dudes, but all of them would fit at number 2 for us, just about.
Yeah, like my thing with their wide receiver group is this is what it looks like, or it can look like when you give a dude a chance to play.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, okay, well, this guy was a 3rd round pick. Yeah, but he got like 600 snaps in his rookie year. Like, I mean, it looks different when you let a dude actually get on the field and like play meaningful snaps.
Yeah. I feel like they've got like 3 or 4 7 out of 10 guys, and we've got like a 9.99 guy, and then 6s and 5s and 4s, right? And nobody's super standout, but they're all pretty damn like better than average, solid players. And I'm not sure.
It would not surprise me one bit if next season you see the Lions sign a wide receiver in the offseason, draft one in the 1st or 2nd round, and draft one in the 3rd round. Like,
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they go after, like, if T. Higgins really wants to go, I'm out. Like, just get me out of here. Put a package together. Can you imagine St. Brown and T. Higgins?
Well, he's the perfect guy.
Right?
He's the perfect guy.
I mean, would you go like, I'll give you Jameson Williams and our next year's 1st rounder for T. Higgins?
Probably.
I mean, and if you're the Bengals and Jameson Williams has a lot of potential, he hasn't lived up to yet, but you've got Chase on one side and you've got Joe Burrow throwing the ball. Wouldn't you love to see Jameson Williams on the other fucking side of the field?
I mean, Jameson Williams running down the field just makes a lot of sense to somebody that can get the ball there. They did draft this kid out of Alabama named Jermaine Burton in like round 3, who's going to be their number 3. And like, if it's Chase, Higgins, and Burton, I don't think that there's any difference. I mean, like, let's say they made the Bengals made that trade, they get the Lions 1 and Jameson Williams for T. Higgins,
right?
Which is probably fair. They get to put off paying another guy for at least one more year, right? Because you can pick up his 5th year. He hasn't made a Pro Bowl. There's no way that he got the playing time like incentive to like be the top 35% of his position group. So like he's a cheap 5th year. So unless he has the best year of his career in Cincinnati like next season. So like it's not completely impossible. Detroit has not made a move like that since Brad and Dan came.
Right.
So
they've been more build through the draft, right?
Yeah, and like more of like the Emmanuel Mosley side. Like this guy was hurt, we'll give him a cheap prove it deal. Or like Davenport this year, like, oh, he didn't have the season that everyone wanted him to have in Minnesota. So they let him go. Okay, we'll pay low and see if he hits an upside year. And then if he has a 8, 9, 10 sack season, $6 million, that's pretty good. Like Brad seems like that is the direction that he wants to take, filling in some of these spots. But like these spots are quickly evaporating. Like there are not a ton of spots on this roster where you can just be like, yeah, we're going to draft this guy in the 1st round so he can be our 3rd string, whatever,
And that's one of the reasons why, like, when I was thinking about that, and I'm like, okay, well, can we afford to do that? So we look at our cap space. We had the 4th highest amount of cap space this year.
Well, $31 million. That is largely due to the fact that like Goff only cost like $24 million this year because of his extension. Yep. So like they just saved $7 million. Next year's not
terrible. It's the 3rd year. It's the year after that, 2026, where it becomes like a pretty big number.
Yeah. One thing I might do when you're in Europe is take a look at the like. This year it's Sewell's big year. Next year it's Amon-Ra's big year. Then it's Goff's big year, because when Brandon Sansa was here, he set those up so that they hit at different times, so that you had a little leeway to play around it. But then, of course, you're going to sign Aiden. You might re-sign Decker. Like, there's a lot of guys you still have to, like, quote unquote, show how much you love them, right?
Right.
But like, I am excited because if the Lions are relatively injury free and they don't have to elevate and drop people down from the practice squad, a bunch this year, then they can take a bunch of that cap space and roll it over to next year's cap. And like, that might be how you handle something like, like Penei Sewell's big year is whatever, but like we rolled over $11 million in cap, and like that's going to pay for our draft, and now we still have some play around money that we can mess around with. So like, they when Sansa left and went to the Commanders, they brought in 2 more front office guys, and I'm betting one of them is a cap specialist. So
Goff cap number this year is 27 million. Next year it's only 32. 2026 it's almost 70.
Yeah, that'll be a restructure year.
It'll have to. I think you can only go out 5 years when you do contracts. So we got 1 void year. My guess is once this happens, they're going to go void.
Oh yeah,
or at least 1 more void.
Yeah, and so what is his pro rate? His signing bonus is 14, and his base is 55. So I think that the way that you figure out what you can restructure is that you take the whole thing, you subtract the guaranteed, and then if it's a signing bonus and the base salary, you're allowed to restructure some percentage of that.
So like if they take $25 million, his base goes to 30, and the 25 million gets split over whatever 4 or 5 years. So instead of a $25 million hit, it's a $5 million hit.
Yeah. So like if you add 2 more void years to the contract, then like you're basically adding $6 million for the next 4 years. Like that's
right.
Way more. Like it's
we saved $20 million that year.
Yeah, right.
So
and like money is more valuable the closer you have it in time, right? So like
so the contract's pretty standard. 9%, 10% of his contract, or of our total cap That's what I would expect. Goff is in that like 10.6, 12 next year, but then it jumps up to that 24. So that's where they have to do some changes. But I don't know. I love the fact that we've got 31 million bucks, 28 effective, with the practice squad and all that jazz. I would love to see a trade like that. I don't know how serious T. Higgins is with the whole trade me thing, but I would make that trade in a heartbeat.
I would if I was a betting man, and I am, like, my bet is that T. Higgins gets a long-term deal in Cincinnati.
Probably, I would assume that they'll figure it out. Brandon Ayuk apparently wants as much or more than Amon-Ra St. Brown, so that'll be an interesting decision out in San Francisco.
It's hard to argue that he shouldn't get it.
Yeah.
And like, I think that this is the thing that the Lions did, was that it's like, yeah, all right, we'll give St. Brown 30. It's really never gonna look like 30. Or it's gonna look like 30 super late in his deal. But like, now everybody else is getting, now all of our rivals are gonna have to give 33 and 34 and 35, like. So
his cap hit this year is still 4.8. Next year it's only less than 14. But then it bumps up to 33, 28, 26. And the cool thing is it goes down. Mm-hmm. Like, they structured it to go down when the cap numbers are going to go up. So his percentage of cap peaks in 2026 and then drops.
Yeah.
Which is going to be great for us. What's up, Kneecap? It says, but at the same time, until the decision is made to void Sutton's contract or not, that's still looming.
Well, the way that I understood that was that basically, like, they are going to get back the $10.5 million. Like, that's almost a guarantee. But like, the guaranteed money that he is owed, then he basically has to be proven guilty in court of a crime, and then they are allowed to sue him for the return of the money. So like, that's years away, if ever, right? And most likely never. But like, I think that they're going to get the relief from extenuating circumstances that like no one else could have foreseen. So I wouldn't be surprised if they get, in fact, I'd actually be counting on them getting the money back from Sutton's deal, but you can't count on it, right? Because you just don't know.
Yeah.
But like,
until they write that check.
Right. Yeah. That's the big deal, right?
Yeah.
So let's
flip over to tight ends.
Well, we haven't finished off wide receivers yet.
Oh, I thought we had. All right. So you've got St. Brown.
I have Williams, Raymond, St. Brown, Donovan Peoples-Jones, and Green. So I have
just five.
So, and I
feel like we're going to have a sixth.
Yeah, I don't think 5 seemed light, but I just don't know who the sixth guy is. So I think that's the battle. Like, so here's the guy that I'll pick. I'll pick Isaiah Williams. He's a UDFA from Illinois. He's real small, but like, there's a reason that they brought that guy into camp. So I think 5'10" is super generous. I think 5'10" is what Illinois listed him at.
Yeah.
So like, I'm thinking they liked something that they saw. He'll probably participate on special teams primarily, and he's your emergency something other wide receiver. So he was one of the 3 UDFAs that I thought that they would keep potentially. So like, I'll just pick him as wide receiver 6.
So Kneecap says Traquan Smith has been showing out as a contested red zone threat.
Well, that would
in OTAs.
That would certainly help him get the job.
Yeah, we don't have that.
Right.
I've always kind of said like, that's one of the throws that Goff doesn't seem to either. Sub Shannon.
Oh, hey.
I didn't think that Goff either didn't have that throw in his repertoire, or we just don't have the people to have him make that throw. Because, I mean, we had Calvin, right? So Stafford had Calvin, But he could throw a fade like nobody's business. But that's easy to do when you can throw it to a guy that has the the reach and whatnot of a fucking garage.
When you're a transformer, it helps.
Like. Yeah. So I don't know if that's just not a throw that Goff is good at, or if we just don't have the people. So if Traquan Smith can be that person and open up that play to our playbook that we just haven't been able to have before, that would be pretty great. Gives us some opportunities to not just run David Montgomery, up the middle when you're on the 2-yard line. Throw the little dump fade.
So tight end, let's see. It's pretty straightforward, I think. So I actually had them keeping 4.
Really? Okay. I don't think they're going to keep 4. I think they're going to keep the extra wide receiver.
So the difference for me is the new kickoff rules. And I think that I have them keeping an additional linebacker, which I didn't read, but Steel Chambers from Ohio State is my quote unquote 6th linebacker and 2nd UDFA. And I think that they will keep Zylstra on the roster. And then my 4 tight ends are Laporta, Wright, Mitchell, and Zylstra.
Yeah.
And Zylstra is
strictly a special teamer, unless somebody's hurt.
Yeah.
Multiple somebodies are hurt.
Would be my guess. So.
Yeah.
Pretty straightforward depth chart for that position group. Yeah. So I think so. I think so too, Jeremy.
And then we come to the offensive line, which is one of the most important pieces to our offense. This was one of the things that I'd seen on it's on Facebook, but I'm sure this was a Twitter screenshot. But Jared Goff's quarterback and rank, when he's not under pressure, he was the number 1 graded quarterback. When he was under pressure, he was 24. And these numbers on the right are why we need to have an offensive line that is elite, right?
Newsflash, quarterback's worse when dealing with pressure.
Well, that's true, but like relative to everybody else, there's somebody that's worse when under pressure, but ranked number 1, right? That they're not a 10.0 QB or grade, right? They're a 35 or something like that, whatever that ends up being. But like these numbers on the right are why Penei Sewell and Decker and those guys are so important to what we do, because we have to keep the pressure off of him. This just historically has not been his forte, right? So that's the key to our offense, is making sure we get that pressure away from him. And thankfully, I think we've improved at the offensive line again this year. So I think we should be just as good as last year.
Yep. So I've got it: Decker, Glasgow, Ragnow, Zeitler, Sewell, in that order from left to right.
Yep.
And then I have Skipper as the 6th tackle. He's enormous. He also, congratulations, Dan Skipper. He just announced that he and his wife are expecting their 3rd child, a daughter, in December, I believe.
Congrats, man.
Yep. And then I've got Giovanni.
Perfect time, because you're not going to be able to sleep anyway. It's going to be like playoff time. You're like, I can't sleep anyway, so I'll stay up with the kids, hon.
Yeah, exactly. So, and then I've got Giovanni Manu, the kid from Canada.
Yep.
The giant, as Skipper's backup. So he's 7. Then I've got Christian Mahogany as the backup right guard. And it sounds like he is the exact kind of guy they want on the team. We did notice, Shannon, he won't shut up about it.
I haven't said a thing on the podcast.
Yeah.
And so she says that because I was at her house last Thursday, and I was sitting there. We were chatting for like 45 minutes. And then all of a sudden, I'm like, I'm surprised you haven't said anything about the glasses I just got. She's like, I knew there was something different about you. I'm like, you've known me since we were 14 years old together. And you're just like, you just realized it when I told you I've got glasses. So, Anyway, funny story, but
hilarious.
It is, yes.
And then I have them keeping Awosika, Sorsdal as well, but maybe not Sorsdal. But I just don't feel like they're ready to give up on him. And like Awosika was the bigger contributor last year. God, man, Jesus Christ,
6'6", 315.
Yeah,
and you got Mahogany, who's what 6'9". For some reason, I was thinking he was larger than that.
Manu is the big one. He's 6'8", 350.
Yes, that's right. It was Manu. Yeah.
So
6'8",
like
350. God, that's a giant human being.
Yeah, it is. They're all enormous.
That's true.
And so I have them keeping 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 offensive linemen. And like I wouldn't be surprised if one of these guys was a practice squatter, like Sorsdal or Awosika, and they kept Kingsley Eguakun. He was from Florida. I wouldn't be surprised if he was a dedicated center backup. So I have them taking 3 UDFAs and keeping them on the roster in some capacity. And it's Eguakun, Steel Chambers, Isaiah Williams. So I don't know. Every team keeps some number of UDFAs. I'd be surprised if they didn't. So
yeah.
Rumble, isn't your show on right now? Or was it Thursdays? Was it Thursdays at 8? Did I tell everybody wrong?
You said Tuesdays, yeah.
That's what he wrote. So I mean, why aren't you doing your show? Okay. Anyways, the mysteries of Rumble will never cease.
Yeah.
So I have
Rumble, feel free to throw something in the chat.
Yeah, go right ahead, buddy.
Pimping out the podcast. Let's do it.
So I mean, I have them keeping. Oh, you guys are taking
I'll be back
break
in August. Yeah,
I got you. The off season. So I have them keeping a lot of offensive linemen. You know, as Jim Harbaugh says, we think offensive linemen are weapons. So
it's true.
I wouldn't be surprised if the Lions felt similarly.
I think that makes sense. Once we get a little bit closer, yeah, right there. Nothing but the smoke. Tuesdays, 8 p.m. Right on. Yeah, I think once we get a little bit closer and we get into the preseason and they start getting toward cuts, I'll be really curious. I think we'll probably do an episode where we map all this out and then highlight the guys that we think are going to stick around and that kind of stuff. So I'll be curious to see how preseasons go. I'm really looking forward to seeing what Hendon Hooker can do, because I either A, want to see that he's just not a thing and we can kind of stop talking about Hendon Hooker taking over Jared Goff's position like Tom Brady did to Drew Bledsoe kind of thing. Or B, at least go, all right, he's capable as a backup, so if Goff gets hurt, at least we know we've got somebody that can win a few games, and it's not the kind of garbage that we've had in the past where they just couldn't. So I'm really hoping that we can find that out.
Well, we can stop talking about him taking Goff's job. I mean, that's a guarantee. Like, there's no chance.
Yeah, not with the money that he just signed for.
Exactly. So, like, the question is, like, okay, like, is he the kind of guy that, like, if Jared gets, like, a stinger or, like, a separated shoulder and he's only going to be out, you know, a week or 2 or 3, can he come in and, like, how big of a drop off? Well, how big of a drop off is that from Goff to Hooker? Can he run a semblance of the offense and the team effectively still play at the same level, right? So, I mean, time will tell. I mean, it's a bummer.
So, do you think that there's any shot? I have my my thoughts on this, but I'm kind of curious what you and what the folks in the chat think. Do you think there's any shot that because Hendon Hooker is relatively mobile, would we potentially use him in 3rd and 1, 4th and 1 situations, goal to go, as this like weird, like, all right, put him in, kind of like they did with Tebow in Florida, where he wasn't their starter, right? But they put him in goal to go situations because he was both a running threat and a passing threat in college. And you just didn't know what you were going to get. What's that?
Tebow was the starter.
Not his rookie year.
His freshman year?
Yeah, his freshman year, he was not the starter.
Okay.
The
answer is no.
Yeah, I don't think so either, but that's been something I've seen floated around in a few different places. Like, let's put this guy in on 4th and 1s, and they don't know if you're going to throw or if you're going to run, kind of thing. And I just don't see that being a thing that we do. But I was kind of curious what your thoughts were.
I think there's a very low chance.
Yeah.
Pat, who is K Bates? Yeah, he means like
Taysom
Taysom Hill.
Yeah, something along those lines, where you just randomly just mix shit up by putting somebody in that's a dual threat that you don't get with your primary guy. I think our primary guy, I think you still take a step down, right? Our primary guy is just more likely to get that 4th and 1 if he hands it off or does a dump than the surprise factor you get by Hendon Hooker. I just don't think that New Orleans has the same difference, right? The ceiling for Taysom Hill versus what they had with Jameis Winston was not as big of a difference as we have right now.
I think Jared Goff will play every snap in the regular season that he is allowed to play.
Yeah.
Oh, Jake Bates. Kicker Bates. I got you. They should fucking sign him. We haven't
surprised he's not signed yet.
Here's the thing about I will put money that Badgley doesn't last the entire season as the starting kicker on this roster. Like if they play the whole season with Michael Badgley as the kicker, then they fundamentally don't value the position at all.
I was looking on
you and I were
Lions.
talking about like what situation he's allowed to kick, and it's something like they have to get into the red zone, and it's something like the 20 to 27 yard line, and it has to be like 4th and 7.
Yeah,
and then he's allowed to kick a field goal. Like there's just like it's unbelievably small. What does it say?
Well, he's never really had a leg. But special teams coordinator David Phipp said before practice that Badgley has worked hard to improve his leg strength this offseason, and that was on display Thursday. He made one from 53. That would have been good from 63. He easily cleared the 60-yard attempt a little bit later. That's great to see because he never had the leg, and you didn't have that belief that he was going to do that. So I was at least a little bit enthused to see that. I still don't think we're going to kick too many 50-yarders unless it's 4th and over 6 or 7.
I mean, like, yeah. So, like, to be honest, I don't want to go on a rant, but like, there were numerous times last season that I wanted them to kick a field goal, and they didn't. And if the difference is how far Michael Badgley can kick
consistently,
well, right. I mean, like, so how do you know that unless you let him kick?
Practice. So if he's missing half of them in practice,
you think that he's out there plunking 80, 85, 70, 80, 85% in practice? Fuck no. The dude was 90% on the field kicking for him from field goals last season. So like if 90% if what we saw last year was 9 and you're 90%, and like I think over 40 he didn't miss one. So like, and he only had 4, but like
I was gonna say, like, how many did he have?
But like that's on them. Like that's not on Michael Badgley. Like they make the decision whether or not he goes out there and kicks. So like if it's just about distance and he can kick further, then you should see them give him more chances. But like you won't know if he's consistent or not until you get out there and actually let him kick.
So it looks like, by the way, if you don't go to profootballreference.com for stats, you're missing out. They've got a lot of great stuff. But for Badgley this past year, he was 500 from 30 to 39 yards, 500 from 40 to 49 yards. They did not let him kick 50 plus.
That's we were looking at different. So you're saying that he was basically like he only made kicks underneath 30 yards. We were looking at different stats then, because I mean,
based on this, it looks like he's basically 500 from 30 to 49.
And then
the previous season. Oh no, hold on. Field goals attempted, field goal made. I thought this was missed. So he was 100% in that area.
Yeah, and then from 40 to 49.
Totally, I misread that.
Yeah, so he was 100% from that distance.
Yeah.
Okay. And they wouldn't let him kick it
under 50. Yeah. And
what more does the dude need to do? I mean, like, kick it further. I mean, how do you know? I mean, but like kicking it in practice and kicking it in a game are not ever the same thing.
Right.
I mean, so like if he goes out and I mean, like fucking I don't know how many people will get this, but Ben Simmons from the Nets, who like is a basketball player who is a horrible shooter and has always been a horrible shooter, will go 11 from 11 behind the arc in practice. I mean, like that's just it. Like it's game time situations or it's nothing. And like my problem is like even if he gets better, like and so he's kicking deeper at a higher percentage, are they still not going to use him? And like that's my fear, is that Dan Campbell is so unbelievably aggressive that we are going to pass up opportunities for points. And like if you have a kicker that can make 90% of his field goals from inside 50 yards, I mean, I would take the 3 a lot. I would take the 3 a lot, because it's not like this offense isn't going to plunk it into the end zone.
So this is the stuff that to me screams out, if it's over 50, don't let him do it. He's 50% there, 0 there, 33% there, 0, 0, 66%. Like
then they should get a different kicker.
Oh, I 100% agree. But I can definitely see, but like all these other numbers inside, basically under 50, he seems pretty solid.
But the question then is, if he's solid from under 50, then you should let him kick from under 50, and they didn't. And so if the issue is distance and you need someone to kick it further than 50 yards, then they should have gone out and gotten a different guy. So either scenario, I don't think has been solved, which for me is a big fucking problem.
I think that if we had confidence in our kicker, if we had Matt Prater, Jason Hansen, I think we kicked both those times in the NFC Championship game. I think it's about trust and belief in that being sure points. And we just didn't have it. So we need to solve it. So we either need to go out and get somebody, or we need to give him more opportunities, or maybe just don't miss on third downs, right?
Well, I mean,
extend the drive.
I mean, and that's something that we could look at, because if I'm remembering shit the way that is accurate, they were not wonderful on third down. And that I think that precipitated a lot of those fourth down calls. Like, oh, it's 3rd and 6 and you got 4. Okay, go for it. And it's easy. I mean, when you have 4 tries to do something, it's usually easier to accomplish than 3. That's just math. But like, if you were better on third down, would you have to go for it and risk the turnover on 4th? Like, and those are still turnovers. Like it might matter that it's like, oh, they're inside the 15 when you turn the ball over, but you still gave them the ball instead of trying for points.
Looks like we're 8th in third down percentage, which was only 41.7%. So we were in the upper quarter.
I mean, I feel like there were games like Dallas, the Chargers game, where they were like 5 out of 15 on third down or some shit. And like, you know, if you look at their fourth down conversions last year, like they ended the season at like 50%. But if you take off the last like 4 or 5 games where they went like 7 out of 8, they were at like 39% for the season. So like, who are they really? Are you the team who you were for 12 or 13 games and then went on a run at the end of the season? Or are you what you were at the end of the season for the last 5 games, and that's who you're going to be all of 2024? Because in my opinion, they're the 39% conversion team that got hot at the end. And so like,
could be, yeah.
I don't like that, you know, and like, I would rather that they, you know, the better that you are converting on third down, you know, the better it is. You know, it's just better, right? That's what you want to do. That's one of the cornerstones of being successful in the NFL is to convert on third down. So like,
and if you look at the teams in that top 8, right, these are all playoff teams,
right?
That's how you win games, is converting on third down. So I'm trying to think if there's any of these in here. Miami made the playoffs, right?
I think so.
Atlanta did not.
No, they didn't.
So, like, the top 12 in third down conversion rate all made the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, there are like cornerstone stats that are, these things actually matter. Turnover differential, third down conversion, you know, how well you run the ball, stuff like that. They're just going to be, doesn't matter at what level of football you are. If you do these things and limit these things, you're good. So looks like the Lions are doing it the right way. It's just, I find them to be too aggressive. I thought they were too aggressive last season, a handful of times, you know, and like, it's exciting and I know people like it and you know, but like, I don't know that it leads over the long term to a better way to win football games. That's my concern. Like, he'll probably continue to do it. Like, that's probably just who Dan Campbell is. So we're going to get a bigger sample size and then we can just look at the numbers.
Yeah. And I feel like last year with so many going on so many fakes, like going forward on fourth down, that kind of stuff, depending on down and distance, all of that makes sense. The fake punts, the fake kicks, those kind of things, those are the ones where you're like, if you do it enough, they're just going to expect it. You need to do that as a surprise, not as a normal course of business. And if you're going to do 5 of them, 6 of them in a year, you're looking at what, every third game you're going to do a fake. They're going to be ready for it every fucking time. So I think he needs to dial it back a little bit this next year and, you know, maybe do like 2 in the entire season. Save one for the playoffs. I don't know, but maybe don't do it at all during the regular season and save one for a critical moment in the playoffs and have that be the surprise. But the fakes were the ones where I'm like, oh, thank God it worked. Oh, thank God it worked.
You know, and like, I think it was in the Chargers game. Like, they went for it on their own. Like, they faked a punt on their own 17. You know, and it worked. Like, they converted. Now, like, I think it was the same.
You were totally not ready for that, right? Because, like, who in their right mind would do this?
I don't think they were, you know, because, right. But, like, and, like, I'll finish tonight on this, is that, like, those are high risk, high reward plays. They have largely worked out for the Lions thus far.
Yeah.
I think that they draft people like Vaki. They bring people back like CJ Moore. They pay Jalen Reeves-Maybin for the ability to have that in their toolbox. And, you know, it's, when it works, it's really exciting and everyone's a genius. And then, you know, but like, I think the team is good enough now that if you just eliminated it completely, you know, you're winning the division. I mean, like, is it more about doing this kind of stuff is the team winning because we're basing enough stuff on these kind of risks, and they're working out for us, live by it, die by it? Or do you now, with the roster improving, just eliminate as much high risk stuff as you possibly can and say, okay, like our floor is higher. We were adding in a lot of risk last season. We've brought that down. We live in this window now. And like, is that a 12-win team, 13-win team? I don't care, because like, if they're probably going to win the division, and like,
hope so.
However many wins they have, as long as they win the division, they're in the playoffs, and that means that you get a chance.
Anything can happen,
right? So like,
I think both of Eli Manning's, they came in as the 8 seed.
Yeah, that sounds.
You just get in there, and
that sounds right.
Especially if you're getting in hot at the end, you just get in, and literally anything can happen. It's 4 games. Just do it. Right?
Did you see what Eli Manning said to Tom Brady about his roast?
I do remember. I don't remember I remember seeing it and laughing, but I don't remember the actual words.
So it was leading up to the roast of Tom Brady on Netflix or whatever it was, and like Eli put out a tweet and he said, like, I would show up to this, but I didn't want to roast Tom Brady for a 3rd time.
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty
good. When have you watched the whole roast at all? Have you seen the roast?
I hate roasts. I think they're awful.
Oh, there were some pretty funny ones in there. Not gonna lie, but Peyton Manning came out toward the end. He was actually the last roaster, and then Tom comes up and starts his gig. But he was telling Tom Brady, or telling Peyton Manning that he's like, oh, I know you live over and you've got a place in Denver, you got a place in Louisiana or wherever. He's like, but you'll always live in my shadow. And I'm like, that's funny. That's funny. But anyway,
that kind of stuff. Yeah. I mean, like, good-natured ribbon between like those two guys. Yeah. Okay. I have no problem with that. But like, yeah, in general, I am not a fan of roasts. So no problem.
Edelman's roasting Belichick was hilarious. But so Kneecap, we did actually talk about how we were improved. Like Green Bay improved, Chicago improved, we improved, Minnesota exists. It was kind of about how we kind of talked about that. I think we improved more than the others, even for that matter. But I definitely think that we got better this year.
Yeah, I'm going to hold out judgment. I mean, like, I do think that I like how they attack the cornerback position. I think that I wasn't a huge fan of them trading up future picks to go and get the
Manu
players that they got. Yeah, Manu and Vaki. I think that over a long enough period of time is just not the right way. But those players will probably be good, and because Brad did it, and
he's been on fire.
Yeah, so like we'll all probably love it and be like, oh, what a great pick, and because he worked
saw
out,
that coming,
right? But like I don't want to do that a ton. But I think that the Lions did get better. How long they can continue to do it, I think, is going to be maybe more reliant upon the salary cap than the draft picks. And like the question that I have for the team is like, when are they going to decide to let someone go? Like I would be shocked if they can pay everybody forever, so that'll be the interesting part for me, is like who they choose to let go and when.
Yep. Lee McNeil, James Houston, like those guys are going to want to get paid. Hutch is going to be up next year. I think next year will be interesting to see who they keep and who they let walk, what they sign for it if we get any comp picks.
Well, I mean, like that is the other thing that I want to see the team start to generate our comp picks.
Yep.
And you got to do that. The only way you can do that is if you get turnover on your roster, and if you're drafting well, then like they should be relatively easy to produce. But like, I just don't know that the roster is in a position, to quote unquote do that quite yet. So, but like, 2 years from now, maybe when you got your pillars locked in or whatever. So stay healthy. Isn't he just like he missed 8 games once, right? So I mean,
he was not healthy last year either, though.
well, that's the year he didn't.
That was
right?
the year before that he came in. Well, was it last year?
Yeah,
maybe it was
because he's going into his 3rd season, right?
Yeah, but he play much of the. I thought he was hurt his first 2 seasons, and he's going into 3rd. But anywho, we'll see how this season goes and who earns the contract, and who earns a good free agent contract, right?
Yeah. So it should be. I mean, it's always going to be interesting, right? What the decisions they make. So.
Well, appreciate everybody tuning in. We'll be back next Tuesday, 7 p.m. So as always, hit that like and subscribe. Appreciate it. Tell your friends we're in triple digits, soundly in triple digits now, so that's good. But if all 107 can tell like 3 friends, bam, and then they can tell 3 friends,
yeah.
It'll be like a Ponzi scheme without money. So
I think you can only with stuff like that, like if 3 friends told 3 friends, I think you can only do that like 7 times until you've hit everybody on Earth.
That's all we need.
Yeah,
7 degrees of separation.
We don't want much, just 1 billion subscribers for our show.
Is that too much to ask for, Drew? Come on.
Yeah, it's not too much to ask for 1 out of every 8 people on Earth to listen to our show.
No. You know what? 1 out of every 10, right?
Is there 10 billion people on Earth?
I
don't think so.
There will be. 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon, yes. I'm sure at some point somewhere one of our subscribers actually knows Kevin Bacon, and we don't know it, but we're like 2 degrees away from Kevin Bacon.
Well, so that would be fun. All right.
We'll see you guys. Appreciate y'all.
See you. Bye.